Year. I hope your holiday was wonderful. Thank you, those of you who are joining us on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever else you are visiting with us today. Thank you so much for being here. So I was thinking about the talk that I wanted to give today. I was thinking about stories that kind of show what it is I want to tell you. And I remembered this story that I want to share with you now. And it starts off, it's kind of a long story, so it starts off with this woman, young girl, graduates from high school. And basically this is, I'm just describing the American dream, just what we do. She graduated from high school, enrolled in college, took a few semesters, met the man of her dreams. He was a military man, he was in the Air Force. They married. And he was in the Air Force like her father, so she just had this wonderful feeling about him. And they married, and they do what young people do. They had children. They had girl twins, and they had a young boy. And so they had a wonderful life. Some things occur, as they always do in relationships, and certainly just in life. One of the twin girls had an accident. She was hit by a car. The mom and the dad did what needed to be done, took care of her, took her to the hospital. They nursed her back to health. And she was fine. And they went on with their lives. Then the little boy got hit by a car. This time his lungs were injured. He was a little bit more injured than his sister was previously. It took a little bit longer for him to be healed, but he was. And sometime after that, I don't know if it was the trauma of just nursing their children back, finding out what happened, who knows. But as these things sometime occur, they decided that they no longer wanted to be married, and they divorced. And so she went into the workforce, became a real estate agent in California, lived in a wonderful little community in California. And then her second daughter was run down by a drunk driver. She did not make it. Her body was so mangled. Not only did the person run her down, but drug her for a while because he didn't know that he had hit her. Her body was so mangled, they couldn't even donate any of her organs to save another child. This was Candace Leitner, and her daughter was Carrie. From that place, she just needed to do something. She just could not live with the loss of her daughter. And so she started speaking out against drunk drivers. And by the way, the gentleman who ran her daughter down, this was his fourth drunk driving incident. He had just been released 2 days earlier from having hit someone else. And so she created MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. That's the action that she took to deal with her loss and to deal with the love that she had for her children and trying to understand what happens, what is ours to do? What is ours to do? That's always the question to me. What is ours to do? And I was talking with a gentleman this morning in our class, and one of the things that we tend to do, and I'll go into this a little bit later, is we know who we are, and we know how blessed we are, and we know the power of our thoughts and our actions. Yet it is very easy to fall asleep. It's very easy to fall asleep. Our charge is to continue to wake up, to try to stay awake longer, and to have the periods of time when we're asleep and forget who we are to be shorter. Because we are, in fact, the individualized expressions of God, and we have the ability to create many, many things. But the question becomes, what do we do and when do we do it? So my talk this morning is called Let God Lead. And sometimes it's difficult for us to say that we want to be led. I'm not a follower. I'm a leader. I'm not going to be led. But the thing is this. Who is God, actually? And an individualized expression of God is each and every one of us. So when I say let God lead, what I'm saying is let your higher self lead. Let your higher self be the one that you listen to and follow. Knowing God, knowing who you are, does not prevent tragedies from happening. We're not saying that because you know who you are, because we have all this power, that we don't have things that we go through. My sister is also a minister, and she's going to be doing a talk in, I think she said March, which I want to go and take a look at. I told her I would come and see it. It's in the evening. And the title of her talk is, It Had to Happen. It had to happen. And I think that's an interesting talk, because what this is about what our experiences share with us. Would we have Mad if all three of her children hadn't been run over? All three of them, by the way, were hit by drunk drivers. She did nothing the first time, nothing the second time. The third time she moved. And that is not an indictment about whether she should move sooner, or it doesn't matter. The point is, when do you move to action? When do we move? How do we move? How do we wake up? How do we know? What knowing God does not prevent things from happening. What it does do is gives us peace about where we go from here. What do we do with that experience? Because I believe that everything that happens is a way in which we evolve. We evolve to the next phase of our lives. What do we do with this experience? I've been married to the same man for 37 years. We are separated now. What do I do with the experience of the 37 years and the experience that I'm having now of being separated? What is it for me to do? What is the evolution? I can tell you one thing. If I wasn't separated, I would not be the minister here. I would not. This is a whole different phase of my life. If that hadn't happened, this would not have happened. I know that for sure. So I don't know why things happen. The asking of why is useless. The asking of what's next, that's useful. How do I go there? That's useful. Those are the useful questions. That's what we get to do. So we let God lead. God is the highest synonym that we know for love. So what we're saying when we say let God lead is we're saying we're let love lead. Let your heart lead. Your heart is impelling you forward. Your heart is always talking to you and telling you what is next for you. We simply don't want to hear it. We don't understand how our heart, something inside us, could know something that's supposed to happen outside of us. Or we think it's outside of us. How do we know that? In New Thought, we do a lot of thinking. Yeah, a lot. In New Thought, we do a lot of reading. Read a lot. Nothing wrong with that. We ask a lot of questions. I'm reading a book right now that's called Questions Are the Answers. I love it. It's a great book. Read it if you can get it. But at some point, we must stop all the reading, asking, questioning, and get to doing. Take some action. Take some action. There's a joke that I like to tell. I'm not even sure how it started. I'm just going to make it up as I go. Because I know the point, so. So there's a farmer. He's a taciturn person, you know, like that picture you see of the farmer and his wife, it's that guy. So, you know, he's pretty taciturn. But he's just doing his work. He gets up every morning. He's dependable. You know he's going to be out there doing what he needs to do to keep his farm going. He's at the dinner table one evening with his wife. And she's sitting there, and he can see that she's seeming a little sad. And so he asked her, he said, what's the matter? What's going on? And she said, well, you know, sometimes I don't know if you love me. You know, you don't do anything, we don't go anywhere. You know, I don't know if you still love me. And so he stopped and thought about it for a second, and he looked at her and he said, well, when I asked you to marry me, I told you I loved you, right? She said, yeah. And he said, well, I'll let you know if I change my mind. I'll let you know. But the thing is this, those of us who are in relationship, whether it is a romantic relationship, friendships, your children, it doesn't matter. We can't say something one time and then think they're going to always remember that. There's a thing that says, what you do speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. What you do speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. It matters what we do. It matters that we do. It matters. Emily Cady tells us this in Lessons in Truth, which was written in 1894. If you have not read this little bitty tome, it's about this big. It takes forever to get through because it's written in 1894, but it is an amazing book. It is an amazing book. And she says this, my advice is, if you want to make rapid progress in growth towards spiritual understanding, stop reading many books. They only give you someone else's opinion about truth. What you want is direct revelation of truth in your own soul. Direct revelation of truth in your own soul. That's what matters. My daughter, beautiful daughter, and of course everybody says that, but she really is. And she's on a spiritual path, and she's been on it for quite some time, and so she believes she's finally found someplace. She lives in California, in Palmdale, California. And so she believes she's found a place for her. So she calls me, we speak about once a week at least, and she called me and she was sharing with me some of the things about the minister, some things about the people that go there. Just, you know, and her son, her little son's 10 years old, my grandson, he loves going there as well. And so she asked me, she said, what do you think, Mom? Because it's a fundamental church, it's not a New Thought church. And she asked me, what do you think, Mom? And I said, what is your heart telling you? She said, Mom, I love being there. I love the people that are there. I love the minister and his wife. Well, there you go, honey. That's the answer for you. Your heart is already telling you. You don't need to ask me. You know. The truth has already been revealed to you by the desires of your heart, by how you feel. You already know. You don't need to go around asking somebody else. Let me tell you something. No one else can tell you the answer. Do you know why? Hello? Because it is your...
It's none of their business.
That too. That too. It is none of their business, but they can't possibly know. Because God is speaking to each and every one of us individually about what you need. I can't tell you what you need. I don't know. What I can share with you is what I have done to understand how I know. I can share with you some guideposts to say this is a way that you can find yourself and the voice of God for you. I can't tell you the answers though, yeah? You don't want me to, believe me. You don't want to hear from me. But you don't need to hear from other people. In the Bible, James 1:22 and 25, it says, be doers and not hearers only. If anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man who looks intently at his face in a mirror. He looks at himself, then goes away, forgetting what he looks like, because there's nothing to reflect back. The one who looks into perfect law and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but instead a doer who acts, he is blessed in the doing. He is blessed in the doing. Blessed means to be made holy, to have a divine nature. So by action, so the two sides of God, and I talk about the two-sided coin, giving and receiving, the two sides of God, love and law. Love and law. What we get to do is think. Everything we do, everything you see on this planet, every physical thing on this planet, started with a thought. Yeah? Nothing comes until you first think about it. There were three frogs sitting on a log. And they were all thinking about jumping into the water. Two of them continued to think, and one decided to jump. How many are left on the log? All three. Because a decision is not an action. It's the first thing you have to do is to decide it. I've decided to do something, but then you have to what? Do it. Okay? You have to move. We get very comfortable and it's called a comfort zone for a reason. Good things happen and we're just so happy and we just don't want the other shoe to drop. You know, we don't want something else bad to happen, but nothing is going to happen other than what you declare. Whatever happens in this life, you have peace about it because God is in you. God is guiding you. All you have to do is ask the question and then do the thing that God is telling you to do. Take an action. Take an action. Do you understand that be a power couple with God. You and God this is a power couple. This is Kirsten and Dax Shepard. They're a wonderful comedy couple. They're so great. They do a lot of things with their kids and in the public. They're just a wonderful power couple. And I said before that God is my ride or die. George is my ride or die. And what a ride or die is someone who is there for you in your life no matter what. No matter what. Anyone that will ride out any problem you have or think you have. That's what a ride or die is. They will ride with you or die trying. And God isn't going to die trying. He's going to tell you exactly what you need. So God and you are a power couple. Romans 8:31, the King James Version said, what shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? If God is for you, I've told you this story so many times, but I'm going to tell a brief story because this is how you act when you know that God is on your side. And let me tell you this, if God is on your side, doesn't mean he's on the other person's side either. God is on all of our sides. But here's the thing. The universe is abundant. Because I have doesn't mean you can't. I have, you have, you. We all get what we're asking for. That's how abundant the universe is. And so when you know God, and God is my ride or die, I walk into a situation, so I told you this thing about getting a house that I wanted in San Diego. And I knew that all I needed to do, I pulled up to the house, I saw it, I knew that I wanted it, and I said, this is the house I want. I told George, I declared it, this is what I want. I was just renting the house. I just was moving to San Diego noon, I was just renting it. It was a beautiful home. I called the guy up who was renting the place, and I said, I want to take a look at the house. You know, I want to rent the house. And he said, I'm showing it on Saturday. I'll meet you there at 9 o'clock. But let me tell you, there are 25 other people who want to look at this house. It was really a beautiful house. And I told him, doesn't matter. The house is mine. Just be there at 9 o'clock. Of course, he probably thought I was crazy. But that's how you know. That's how you speak. That's how you behave when you know that God has already told you what's going to happen, what you need to do next. So I showed up at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. He was there. Not one other person showed up. He said there were 25, not one other person showed up. I was the only one that showed up. I filled out the application. I said, here's my check for the deposit. He said, no, I don't want you to give me the check because we don't know if it's going to clear. I said, I do. I already know. Here's my $500. I'm going out of town for the weekend. My husband and I were going to San Francisco. I said, give me a call. Let me know where the key is. I'm telling you, this is exactly the conversation I had with the guy. And when he called me up and he said, it went through. And I said, I know. Where's the key? I know. Where's the key? Okay? That's how assured you speak and you are when you know. That's how assured and you can speak and know. Know God. Because you and God are a ride or die couple. Believe it. What you want to do is develop fellowship. Somebody has to lead. And somebody has to follow. Okay? We can't both. Do you know what a couple looks like Desmond and Ford if they're both trying to lead? Have you seen it? It's a mess. Do you know what it looks like when neither one of them are leading? They're standing there. Nothing's happening, right? It's a yin-yang. Somebody has to lead. Somebody has to follow. Now, here's the question I have for you. Should you lead, or do you think God should lead? Who do you think knows more? It's really a boner question. I mean, we already know the answer. But for whatever reason, we seem to want to say to George, hey, I got this now. You can take back seat. I got this. Yeah, you got it till you stumble to the next, and you will. You will. Because Spirit is present everywhere, all the time, connected to all of us. You don't know what you don't know, but Spirit does. And that's okay. You want to tell Spirit, hey, I got this? Go ahead. It's no problem. There's no penalty for that, other than you just not having the life you want. But when you get someplace and you find this is not what I wanted, you can call God back and you know what, this is not quite what I wanted. Okay, what do you want? Let's move forward from here. So there is no guilt. There is no penalty for that. I'm just saying, if you want a great life, let God lead. And God is you, your higher self. Your higher self. You already have what you need. If you didn't have someone following, you wouldn't have this. Look at this. Beautiful. You wouldn't have it. You wouldn't have this. They agreed. They agreed. They agreed to have somebody be the leader and somebody be the follower. You have to agree. God isn't going to step in and lead if you don't ask. Right? Knock. There's an action. That's the action that on your part. Knock. The door will be open. Ask, and it will be given to you. But God isn't going. That's what you either have free will or you don't. There's no in between. Either free will or not. And we have free will, which means we have to invite Spirit in every time. So I I had my little nephew was with me when I was living in Thailand. He was my drummer. He's an amazing, amazing drummer. So he did a bonehead thing, as young boys and young girls do. He did exactly what I told him don't do. Don't take the motorbike and go down to this part of town. So of course he took the motorbike and went down to that part of town. Then he got lost, and I'm gonna go on with the whole story. But anyway, when he finally did arrive home at like 2 a.m. in the morning, actually the sun was coming up when he arrived back home. And so we were sitting out on the porch and we were just talking about, what could have gone right and, why it went wrong. And he said to me, I don't know why God lets these kind of things. Hold it. Let me just stop you right there. At what point did you ask God about what you were about to do before you did it? Did you ask? No. Well, then no complaining now. You didn't ask. God would have told you exactly what I told you, not to go. So don't blame God for where you are. You're where you are because you decided to go without asking. If you ask and if you follow, you'll be where you need to be, period. But it is your choice. It is free will. Live the life you want. Declare the life that you want. That's what we get to do. We get to do. So love is God in action. These are some activities, some things you can do when it comes to what we want to do, what the action might be. But here's what we need to know. Two things. Two things and then two things. Two things that we think. Whatever we want has to be a thought in our mind. Yeah, I'm gonna go back because y'all reading this, ain't listening to me. Let's go back. All right, we'll do that later. Two things and then two things. Two things is whatever we want comes from our mind first. We have to think about it. You have to think about what it is you want. And what it is you want that will work for you comes from your core values, right? And we sit and we talk about, all the time I talk to you guys about sitting down and saying, what are your core values? What are you about? Truth, honesty, authenticity, humility. What matters to you? When you think about that, and that's always there in your mind, your list of who you are, then as you're thinking about what you want, those core values are involved in the things that you decide to do. So number one, we think about it. And number two, we act upon it. And when we think about it, and we invite spirit in to the thinking session, then we act upon it, talking about the next thing that we need to do. What is the step? We don't get 3, 4, 5, or 10 steps. We get one step. That's all we get. Because as you make that step, things change in the universe. Do you understand that things are coming and moving all the time? You can't get 10 steps because those 10 steps will be changed by the time you get to the next one. Things will be changed. So you only, from a spiritual perspective, you only get one step at a time. Take that step, and then the next step is given to you. Okay? So, what do? Say yes more. Just say yes more. Yes to life. And when you know your core values, you know what you're saying yes to. My word for this year, we're going to talk about that in just a second. I'm going to let you guys go. From me, anyway. My word for this year was joyous prosperity. 2 words. Joyous prosperity. So I got an opportunity to spend a week last week for Christmas with my sister and her granddaughter, her daughter and her granddaughter. This is my great niece. I speak about her quite a bit from the stage. Her name is Nyla, and she calls me Aunt Panda. I don't know why. That's just my... 5. She calls me Aunt Panda. So she asked me, and if you've been around a 5-year-old at Christmas time, you know it's exhausting. Right? Because they got all their toys, and they want to play with all the toys. They want you to play with them. And so she says, Aunt Panda, can you play with me? All right. So my word is joy. Is there anything more joyous than a child at Christmas time? There just isn't. And so I played with her. My first reaction was, oh, I'm tired. I'm tired. but because I have my core values in my head and I know what my word is, joy, this is an opportunity for joy. So I decided for joy. And We played together. She had all these games we did. We baked a pie together. Man, trying to show a 5-year-old how to crack an egg. We went through quite a few. But it was so much joy. It's so much joy. So say yes more. Say yes more. When you know what your core values are, just say yes as opportunities are coming. And one of my favorite gurus, Brian Tracy, I've read his book, my book of his is yellowed and frayed because I read it all the time. It's called Maximum Achievement. His name is Brian Tracy. Maximum Achievement is the name of his book. And he says, always say this, I do it now. I do it now. A couple of weeks ago, I talked to you about Mel Robbins, and she talks about the 5-second rule, which is about whatever comes to you, whenever Spirit speaks to you and tells you something to do, you've got 5 seconds to do it before something else will come along and you'll talk yourself out of it. You'll talk yourself out of it. You have 5 seconds. So I do it now. 5 seconds is what you got to do it now. So if something is telling you, go and talk to that guy back there. What you want to say is, why? I don't know that fool. But there's something in you compelling and saying, go back and speak to that person. Don't ask the question. Just do it. I do it now. Okay? Say yes more, and I do it now. Yes to joy. That's my yes to joy. So, what I want to tell you is this. The danger of the comfort zone. There's dangers there. We're not living our best life. You think this is good, you have no idea what's waiting for you. What's evolving, not just for us. Because we're connected, what you do matters to others. What you do matters to others. What Candace Wiegner created MAD. How many people did that affect? How many lives? We can't even count the lives that saved by her doing that. That's a big deal. But just playing with my grandniece, and just being joyful. I was joyful for the day. She was happy. Perhaps she has a different idea about older people, right? Because young people think old people don't want to do anything, and mostly we don't. But, we get to change, we get to do those things. So who knows why you're supposed to do it, what the effect is. It doesn't matter. The danger is being in the comfort zone and staying there. I'm saying do it now. Say yes to joy. Get moving, right? Deuteronomy 1:6 says, the Lord our God spoke to us saying, you have stayed long enough at this mountain. It's time to move. You stayed long enough. I'm saying you stayed long enough. I'm asking you, what's calling you? Something is calling you. What's stopping you? What's stopping you? Jump into the fray. Jump into it. Leap into your life. Your heart is impelling you forward. It is, believe me, never wrong. It is never wrong. Follow your heart. Let God lead. And have the great life that you were intended to have. Namaste.